What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I am bringing you another dueling book game with me on Dinomorphia versus my opponent on Sky Striker. And Sky Striker is known to be a huge pain for Dinomorphia, one of the worst matchups, but Dinomorphia is too powerful, and that's what I'm going to try to showcase in this video. I think it's just like the best trap deck that they've printed in a while. Eldritch, of course, is up there as well, but Dinomorphia is actually so good, and I've been playing around with it a lot. Deck profile down below in the description if you want to check it out. But Dinomorphia has two main bad matchups in the meta. It's Despia and Sky Striker. So those are like the ones you are going to encounter most of the time, but honestly there's some other bad matchups like Trickstar, which is a whole nightmare in its own right. But yeah, this is one of the worst matchups, so I'm going to be showcasing what Rex can do against a deck like Sky Striker, where inherently he has a bad matchup. So, getting into this game, actually, before we get in this game, I do want to let you guys know, Discord link down below, along with all of our other social media links, as well as I am trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, a little goal I've made. So if you do enjoy this Yu-Gi-Oh content and you want to see more of it, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and what I do here on the channel, as far as making content is concerned. Without further ado, let's get into this dueling book game. So we're going to have me at 672 rating. I don't play too much dueling books, so that's like high enough for me. I don't play enough to climb the ladder. And then our opponent is 491 rating, so about an average rated game. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the game. We're both going to pick Rock, and then I'm going to win the die roll. Always nice to win the die roll when you are playing a deck like Dinomorphia. It definitely can go second. I mean, if you open multiple fusion traps or a fusion trap plus strike, you probably win going second. But there's some cards that cause problems like Guardian, Chimera, and, you know, Sword Soul Blackout. Anything that can pop your stuff at end phase. So it is always nice to go first. Opening hands, we're going to have Called by the Grave, Brute, Alert, Judgment, Frenzy. This hand's insane. We have Called by Frenzy, and then Judgment. This is really good setup. We open both one-ofs being Alert and Brute, but these are very powerful cards as long as you have your engine, which we do. Our opponent opens up Demise of the Land, Widow Anchor, Harpy's Feather Duster, Called by, and Fusion Destiny. So no access to Ray, but this does look like it's Poe's Hartford winning list or something close to it with the Demise of the Land. So definitely just, you know, Mystic Mind Turbo, which is a nightmare. So while he doesn't have access to Ray, he does have powerful Fusion Destiny with access to Mine and main deck Feather Duster, so that might come in clutch for him. So going on into the game, I'm going to do a very powerful strategy here. I'm going to do the old solid set 5. And you know, they're not 5 Eldritch traps. These traps actually do stuff, like Frenzy is bonkers, so that's really nice. And we're just going to pass our turn. Very simple for us. Our opponent draws D-Barrier. This dude's got nightmares for days, like Mine, Fusion Destiny, D-Barrier, Feather Duster. Like, this is a nightmare for Rex to deal with. So let's see how this game plays out. Our opponent's going to go into main phase 1, activate Harpy's Feather Duster, and at this point, my face was looking like this. Like, what am I playing against? At this point, I'm thinking it's like Gren Maju or something just designed to just blow out boards going second. So we unfortunately are going to Solemn Judgment that, so Judgment did not do much for us. Well, it did everything for us, but it couldn't be used for anything but negating the Feather Duster, essentially. Fusion Destiny is going to go off, and I believe, yes, I'm going to chain Dinomorphia Frenzy, and we are going to go ahead, dump Theresia, and dump Selfbergia, and just instantly summon Rex. And we're summoning Rex because we're at 2,000. If I summon Ketragina, Fusion Destiny is going to resolve, and he can bring out the... Why am I forgetting his name? DPE. And what he can do, since he is turn player, is he can on-summon at the resolution of Fusion Destiny. He can activate his DPE first. And if he activates DPE while I have Ketragina, I can't, like, chain Ketragina summoning Rex, because he'll just pop the Rex. So I have to go straight for Rex here just to play around that small interaction that could pop up. So he's going to go ahead, dump the brick, summon DPE. Fair enough, and he's reading Rex for the first time, which is good for us. He's going to Widow Anchor it. That's unfortunate because my Rex is now turned off, but, you know, it's not like we're facing a huge board here. He did Fusion Destiny, so I know he's not extending. Rex isn't really needed any more than what he is on board, so our opponent is going to activate Destroy Phoenix Enforcer and pop the Rex, so realizing that Rex is an absolute threat. I'm going to say that's good. We have Alert, so this just works out in our favor very, very nicely because... You know, Widow Anchor and DPE essentially traded for a Rex that's going to come back anyways. And Rex gets to activate here. So we're going to have a huge chain link going off. So Chain link 1, he has Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. Chain link 2, I'm activating Rex. Then I ask for Chain Link 3, because if he doesn't have one, I'm going to have a Chain Link 3. He's going to Chain Link 3, Called by the Grave, targeting, I believe, Rex. Yes, he targets Rex. So then I Chain Link 4, activate Alert to summon back the Rex. Chain Link 5, Called by the Grave, target his DPE, that is Chain Link 1. So that was a huge Chain Link. A lot of things went off. So I'm going to go backwards. Chain Link 5 resolves a Call by the Grave, banishing DPE. Alert's going to bring out the Rexstrom. Rexstrom is going to bring out the Theresia because his Called by has no target, so we're going to go straight to Chain Link 2. Theresia is going to summon, and then Chain Link 1 DPE would normally activate, but it's negated. And then on a new chain, Theresia is going to activate, to which our opponent is going to chain... Okay, so I didn't catch this while playing, but Theresia was actually summoned as Chain Link 2, and then what happened in Chain Link 1 is DPE tried to resolve but was negated. So this Theresia special summon might be the last thing that happened in the game state, so maybe this could be activated, but my thinking here is that what is going on here? This could possibly miss timing. I'm going through loops in my head. DPE was Chain Link 1 and got negated, so this came out as Chain Link 2, and this is a win effect, so it needs to usually be right like when something happens there. But this was the last thing that happened in the game state. If you want to leave your thoughts in the comments down below, feel free. I might be tripping up over myself here in thoughts and overthinking it, but yeah, I'm not sure if that misses timing there or not. But he's going to activate Demise of the Land. I said nothing in the game. I didn't even think about it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set my domain. That was Chain Link 1, so Mystic Mine hits the board first, but Theresia already activated, so it's going to set regardless. And he's going to set D-Barrier and pass. Now, lucky for me, drawing both of the one of bricks actually works out amazing here because we drew Engine. Like, you don't want to play too many of those cards because they're terrible on their own. You just, like, lose if you see them without a Dinomorphia monster. But seeing Engine plus those is amazing. So I'm able to go into my turn here. We're just going to go ahead and activate the domain because it's not like... There's not a big deal here. Our opponent surprisingly doesn't activate D-Barrier, probably because they assume they're safe under Mystic Mine. Like, no reason to activate D-Barrier if your opponent can't play, right? But now I'm able to go into Dinomorphia Brute. And our opponent is going to scoop, realizing that D-Barrier isn't going to do anything at this point. We pop the Mystic Mine, and we just attack for game, because Theresia is going to bring back Diplos, and that's 8,000 on board, or more, so... Pretty easy game one, despite our opponent's hand actually being insane. Like, of course he didn't see Ray, but every single piece of, like, every card in his hand was almost a card that just purely countered Dinomorphia, so... He didn't see, like, the best part of his engine being Ray. He saw DPE with, like, 5 counter cards, but we were still able to take that pretty convincingly, thanks to Brute and Alert being so great. We're going second in game 2, which, you know, was a surprise. Like, you never know with Sky Striker if they're going to make you go first or second. Like, he could have just sided a bunch of board breakers and made me go first, but we are going to be going second here, and this is what I'm talking about right here. So, opening hands, Brute, Strike, Alert, Ferret Flames, Pankratops. This is exactly why in my profile I talk about I run one of each of these, because it is either like the really good cards in your hand like last game, or I drew 2 bricks that actually do nothing. Like I opened 3 cards. I opened Strike, Ferret Flames, Pankratops. This is why Brute and Alert inherently are terrible cards unless your engine is rolling. So, you know, if we get into a Dinomorphia, this hand could be good, but it's inherently not a good hand. Our opponent opens up D-Barrier, Ash Blossom, D-Barrier, Fusion Destiny, Veiler. So, sheesh. 3 really hard counters to the deck. D-Barrier is a weird counter. It usually isn't that great versus Dinomorphia, believe it or not, because by the time they're activating their fusion traps, they either have Sonic or Judgment, and that usually is pretty good. But again, they open DPE and counter, so that is going to be tough here. We did not open Ash, so our opponent's going to activate Fusion Destiny, dump the bricks, summon out DPE, set D-Barrier, pass. And we do draw Diplos, which is good, but it's not Theresia. Like, this implies we are waiting for our effects to actually do anything, but it is going to turn on Brute and Alert, so luckily these cards end up not being super terrible. We're going to start our turn by special summoning Pankratops. I attempt to go battle phase. End of main, our opponent is going to activate Effect Veiler, which puts me in a weird spot because I'm either going to, like, trade with Veiler and a DPE pop, which is essentially just trading with Effect Veiler, or I can chain Pankratops here, pop his back row, so Pankratops chains with 2 cards, but then we're subject to DPE's pop. But I am going to go for trading for the back row. I do think some thinking there because it is actually a tough choice. I'm going to chain for the back row and just let DPE pop us. But he chains D-Barrier, so he must be thinking I'm actually on branded Dinomorphia, trying to play around branded Fusion here. Fair enough, but it means for me that Destroy Phoenix Enforcer isn't going to pop anything during this turn, so I take that as a win here, and we outed a D-Barrier, which in my eyes is again super good. Gonna normal summon the Diplos, activate effect Twitchy Ash Blossoms. That is like 100% like something you should never ever do, is Ash Diplos, because you get punished by Frenzy or Domain extremely hard. You also get punished by Miscellaneousaurus. Wow, that was tough. Very, very hard, even though that's a one-of. But yeah, ashing Diplos doesn't even make sense. Like, you would wait for the Fusion Trap if they have it, but our opponent ashes Diplos, and our hand is Buns, so it works out. We're going to go ahead and set 4. And end phase, Fusion Destiny. I remind my opponent that Fusion Destiny is going to pop the Destroy Phoenix Enforcer at the end phase. He activates effect. I say it's good. So things are looking up for us right now. I mean, we're like plus quite a bit. But our opponent does happen to draw Ray, which gets him straight into both of his engines. He's just going to hard activate DPE at the start. It's alert. My Diplos was ashed for some reason, so, you know, we can't chain it. Not like we were going to chain that to DPE anyways, because he could just pop Theresia that I bring back and I don't get my effect. He's going to activate DPE Engraved, to which I Solemn Strike, and at this point I'm like, alright, he's not allowed to have drawn Ray. He can draw Rose, he can draw Hornet Drones, he can have anything but Ray. Because I have Brute, and I'm going to pop anything not named Sky Striker Ace Ray. Which, yeah, it's just like so tough here. So he's going to summon exactly Ray, which I'm like, wow, that is unfortunate. Going to activate the Celestial effect, don't have an out to it. He's going to draw Mystic Mind and Fusion Destiny. Not very good draws, but they're fine enough. Diplos is going to be destroyed here. Again, my Diplos was Ash, so no Theresia for us. Like, I could have popped the back row with Brute and, like, taken the damage, but then that puts me extremely low. Well, let me think about that, because we would have gone down to 4,000. We would have taken 3,000 here. And then Ferret Flames is live. We would have popped the D-Barrier. Maybe that was the play. Maybe just popping the back row with Brute was the play. Yeah. Our opponent is going to go for Kagari. I'm just thinking that through. Maybe that was good here. I mean, either way, our opponent's going to end up getting engaged and be able to go for exactly what he's doing now, which still puts us in a bad spot. But we would have outed the D-Barrier and put us in range of Ferret Flames to get rid of his monster. Which means, like, if we do it at the right time, we can try to out Ray as well, but it really depends on our draw here. And we draw Prosperity, which is not a bad draw. I'm just still thinking about that play, but either way, goes back to our turn. Our opponent added the multi-roll and the afterburners. Why is this here? Why is recapture? This update is the worst thing DB has ever done. But we're going to reveal the top 6 cards of our deck and find the best one, which I'm high rolling Theresia right now because I feel like Frenzy doesn't get me enough. Gonna go ahead, and I also want Brute to be able to be activated is another thing here. So I'm gonna go ahead and normal summon Theresia, activate effect, set Frenzy. And interestingly enough, if we had taken that damage earlier off that other play, which it now has come up, we could have, like, well, I guess we wouldn't have Brute here, so that really doesn't work. I guess we were just in a tough position here. Our opponent draws Feather Duster again, goes ahead and activates it. I mean, I'm going to chain Brute, and he's going to chain D-Barrier, and I'm going to chain Frenzy, but honestly, it just doesn't matter at this point, so I think I'm going to start sending, and I realize I'm just, like, too low. So we go ahead in game 3, and I, of course, am going to be going first, because, you know, Sky Striker, I could have let him go first, and it might have been, like, really good if I sided for it, but I, you know, wanted to side an anti-spell, namely. As well as Gozen match. Both, the only floodgates I run in my deck are Gozen and Anti-Spell, and I main deck Gozen, I side Anti-Spell, and they're both amazing in this matchup, so I wanted to try to draw them, and we happen to see both. Again, A weak hand overall, though. Goes in match, Miscellaneousaurus, Diplos, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Alert. Like, the engine isn't really here. We only see Diplos plus Alert, but we do have the things to stop Sky Striker in their tracks. Our opponent opens Shark Cannon, which is okay. Ash Blossom, Ray, Mystic Mine, and Hornet Drone. So, they drew some engine, they drew Mystic Mine. Overall, it's like a decent hand. Gonna start off, I'm gonna normal summon Diplos, activate effect. Our opponent Ash Blossoms. What is going on? I think our opponent just doesn't really like know the Dinomorphia matchup, but this is something you should never do, by the way. My hand is garbage, so it's working out for our opponent. But normally, you save Ash for a fusion trap. This does not... Ashing Diplos is the worst possible thing ever. But I am going to Miscellaneousaurus because my hand is trash. I'm going to dump Theresia, set the Alert, set the Anti-Spell, set the Gozen, and pass my turn. Our opponent draws Celestial, so... You know, he drew the Fusion Destiny in the last 2 games. This hand, he sees one of the bricks. Fair enough. Opponent's going to go ahead, and in standby phase, I'm activating Anti-Spell, to which our opponent changed Hornet Drones. And I'm like, this actually works out amazing for us, because it means I can go ahead and activate my Gozen match in standby phase as well. Our opponent summons Ray. They are both Darks, which allows our opponent to go for Zeke. Zeke, go ahead and banish the Diplos. Fair enough. I will take 1500 from this, because, you know, I'm not... Or actually, do I activate Alert here? I think I activate Alert. Yeah, I'm going to pay half and activate Alert. And I think my thinking was I want to go ahead... Like, I could have waited to take the 15 and then do it. But if I could, like, kill the Zeke here and then bring back out the Ray if he crashes, Ray's in an awful spot. So that was something I might have wanted to do, was just let Theresia get crashed into. But I am going to set Domain, and that's because I want to use this Fusion Trap on my turn, so Frenzy is not going to be the play here. He is going to crash into Theresia, and then Ray is going to come out, and our opponent's going to be able to swing for 15, which puts me at 25, which is all fine. Our opponent's going to set Mystic Mine, set the Shark Cannon, and pass. I'm going to draw Solemn Strike, which is tough. This is the downside of Solemn Strike for all you Dinomorphia players, is you draw it in situations like this. Like, if Strike wasn't just the best option at stopping Ash in this deck, in every situation, I would run something like Chain Hole or Gravedigger's Trap Hole, something that is just really good at negating, like, certain cards. Like, Chain Hole is okay going second. You know, if they try to Baron negate your Fusion Trap, you could Chain Hole it. If someone tries to Ash it, you could Chain Hole it or Gravediggers. If someone tries to Vishuda bounce your Rex, you can Gravedigger's Trap Hole. So they have implication. But nothing hits as good as Strike. Like, I can... If my opponent has Baron, Borland, what's her name? Baron, Borland, Savage Dragon, and, like, I set Fusion Trap and Strike, I know my Fusion Trap is going to resolve, and I'm going to put Rex on the board, and I'm going to win the game. No other card can do that like Solemn Strike can, which is why you just have to play this card. I'm tinkering around with the other options, but Strike is just such a blowout card going second that... It is really hard to run anything over this. But you draw it in situations like this where it is buttons. So, I'm going to go ahead and activate the Domain, putting us at 1,250 life points. And our opponent says that's good. Going to go ahead and dump Theresia and Diplos, go for Kentragina. Kentragina effect, put ourselves at 5. I think that's supposed to be 625. Yes, I fixed that. And I'm going to do Alert, Special Summon Diplos and Theresia. Activate both of their effects, which is so good. Alert is so insane. And then our opponent's turn... we can actually do is Kentragina again, banish the Domain, and then go for Stealth Bergia, and then Solemn Strike is live, which is huge, and that is the goal and the reason I've done it this way, but we're sort of forced to make Strike live, so. Theresia is going to set Sonic, very good versus Sky Striker. Diplos is going to send Sonic, also very good versus Sky Striker, because the reason this matchup is so bad is because of Hayate. So, I think we're in a phenomenal position at this point, having resolved both of our Dinomorphia monster effects. Now, we can't swing with them, and we also can't Exceed because we are locked into Dinomorphias. So we're going to go ahead and just set the Strike and pass our turn. And our opponent draws Lightning Storm, which would be an insane draw if Anti-Spell wasn't the kryptonite of Sky Striker. So our opponent's going to activate Mystic Mine. What happened here? We're going to Sonic the Mystic Mine. How fast was that? Can I see? Like... activated Mystic Mine, and like, oh, I said thinking right when he activated Mystic Mine. Okay, so that's what happened. I was really confused there because it looked like I waited 20 seconds to activate that, but I said thinking, and it took me 20 seconds to decide to hit that with Sonic. I guess I was afraid of the back row, but that did take a little longer than I guess it should have, but I did say thinking, so we said what needed to be said. Gonna go ahead and not activate the Diplos Effect Engrave, but our opponent is just going to admit defeat, because the second he tries to end main phase 1, I can make another Kentragina even in this situation, and assume I'm going for game here. Like, don't even have to make Stealth Bergia. And yeah, I don't know if I show my next draw. Yeah, our opponent just says don't know the deck. Yeah, and that is going to be it for this game. We do win versus Sky Striker, a notorious bad matchup. Of course, Anti-Spell and Gozen Match were clutch. Gozen Match is so good this format, and it just also happens to be good versus Sky Striker. The only deck this card is weird against is, of course, Despia, but if you hit them on Lubellion, you're still in an amazing spot. Anti-Spell is just goated. And yeah, I think we did what we had to do to win this game. Yeah, I think everything went according to plan. Was there any big misplays? I think that Demise of the Land earlier in the game, I don't know if he was able to activate that, but luckily we had Brute either way, so that is going to be it for this game. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe. If you do like Dinomorphia, leave down in the comments below what you think of the deck, what you're trying with it. You know, you can argue Strike versus Gravediggers versus Chainhole. But yeah, that is going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.